how to prepare an award-winning entry. We're going to go through all the various factors that I think you need to consider in order to pick a good project and enter a good project and prepare it correctly. All right, and so the first item that we want to talk about is choosing jobs with award-winning potential, and we're going to start with talking about installation jobs. Okay, so here's some of the things that you really need to consider when you try to decide which of your jobs that you want to enter in the awards. You want to have a good client. In other words, one that allowed you to do a good job and to complete the project, that was willing to make changes and adjustments and all that kind of stuff, so that the job went good. Also, make sure that the job has a quality design. In other words, it needs to have some good design elements, so that when the judges look at it, they can see that it flows from one spot to another, that it makes sense. You want to make sure that your masonry is good. If you're putting brickwork in or stonework in, that it's put in nice and level and plumb, and even grout joints. On cement work, obviously you want to make sure it's finished good, and that the final look of it, whether it's a retardant finish or a broom or a brush finish, that it's consistent and it doesn't have any big bird baths in it, and it's the edging is done nice and neat. Woodwork, same thing. On woodwork, you've got make sure that all the wood is put together nice and no big cracks or splinters in the woodwork, and that the painting is done nice and neat, so that the overall look of the project is nice. Now, grading, to me, grading kind of goes with grading and drainage, basically. I want to make sure that that drains and drain heads are put at the proper elevation, and that the planter or the lawn area is graded, so you can see that water actually will go into the drain in a rain condition. Irrigation, you want to make sure that the irrigation is even in the planter beds and in the lawn areas. So you don't have any big dry spots or plants that look like they're in stress. Trees and shrubs want to be, neat and clean and pruned and properly staked, and the shrubs, so that they're all they're facing the right way. They're facing towards wherever they're going to be viewed from would be the best way to face them, and that they're planted at the right height in the ground. Color and ground cover, same thing. Pick a job that's got nice color and good ground cover, and that the ground cover is filling in. And also, when you try to decide what job to enter in the awards, make sure you pick one that's got somebody that's doing a good job of the maintenance, because if a job is not maintained properly, it can look like heck in a couple weeks. So you want to have a job that looks good. And so if you're going to enter it, to make sure that you inform the maintenance company, tell them what you expect in order to maintain that job until the judging occurs. Okay, so these are some of my jobs. This is a job from, I think, 2013 or 14. So you can see that the lawn down at the bottom, the color is an even green. There's no dry spots that you can see. The ground cover that goes around the stepping stones to the left of the spa and behind the pool, that's all filled in and nice and neat. It's pruned off of the stepping stones nicely, and so that the overall job when the judges get up there, this is the kind of look that you need in order to have a good chance to win. Okay, this is on that same job. Underneath the balcony, we did this outdoor kitchen. It's really opened on two sides, but you know, it's got real nice cabinets. It's got nice brush finish, granite countertops, and high-end appliances and stuff. So again, this is another feature. When I entered the job, I wanted to make sure that, you know, everything in the job would please the judges when they saw it. And this is a different job, actually next door to the other job, and the fire pit was built in such a way with a glass tile on the wall behind it, so that when the fire pit was on at night, you could see the reflection of the flames flickering in the glass tile, and the chairs are arranged where you're actually at night, you're looking out to the ocean. And when you look far to the right, you can actually see Catalina Island. You know, so a real pleasing sitting area right there. And this is another job with where the people wanted a large spa with a water feature. And then, you know, we've got the job called for a combination of brick and precast concrete. You'll see that the grouting on the brick is all very consistent. The color of the grout is consistent everywhere, and the wooden posts that hold up the patio cover there, you can see that they're real neat and clean and finished very very, you know, very perfect. Actually, we won sweepstakes in the state on this job, and it's really kind of a small job. At the back of the house, there's a bocce ball court, and this side of the house, it's got this open beam cover with retractable canvas that covers it, and it's not the kind of job you would think would warrant sweepstakes. So I remember after the award ceremony going up to the judges and saying, why did you give that, you know, a sweepstakes award? Because you don't have this great view of the ocean, you don't have this great view of the city or anything like that. And what the judges told me, they said, we couldn't find anything wrong. Nothing. We found no mistakes on the grout, the brick, the granite, the precast, the stone paving. They couldn't find anything wrong. So that's really what you want to strive for. This is a job in Newport Coast where the customer built this very elaborate outdoor pool house. And then you see in the foreground, we did a putting green. And if you look, you know, through the bushes there, you can see the swimming pool, and up above there's a deck where people can sit and look at the pool, or they can look the other direction and see the tennis court. This is one that we did in I think that's Irvine, and basically this house, the people wanted that. Well, when we started the job was a total mess. I mean, there were super big trees and weeds and stuff all over the yard, and it was a mess, a kind of yard that they would never go out and use. So we fixed up the yard. This is on the side of the house where it creates an inviting spot to go out in the morning and have your coffee and a muffin or something like that. But that's and listen to the water trickling down into the fountain.
And did you want to say something about the staging on this one too, Richard?
Yeah. Oh, good point. Yes. Again, when the job is going to be judged and stuff, it's a good idea to stage it a little bit. You see, we've got placemats there. We have plates. We have silverware, and it really makes a difference because it makes the job look like real life people actually use it and enjoy it. All right, this is another job in Newport Coast where we did a spa flanked by a couple olive trees, and then that raised bond beam on the spa is actually a glass tile mosaic. It was pretty involved in installing it, but you'll also see that the pots there with the succulents in them, the pots are really nice, the succulents are nice. All the other shrubs that you can see in planter beds are healthy and have very good color. All right, this is actually a commercial job that we stripped out, and then we installed olive trees. You see them at the top of the slope, and then we graduated into some mass planting of bougainvilleas and agaves as succulents, and then at the foreground you have iceberg roses and Mexican feathergrass. And this is an outdoor patio, part of it solid roof, part of it open beam with a large barbecue area and a large sitting area with a fireplace and a TV screen above the fireplace. Again, the kind of place that you'd look at and say, wow, I wouldn't mind sitting there watching a football game on the weekend and relaxing. And this is a job in Lake Forest, and these people wanted an oversized spa. And so that spa, I believe, was like 12 feet wide. And then we created a water feature with it. I think we won a first place with the water feature in the state. And then it's got a fire pit, which is a good place for the people to sit and listen to the water sounds. This is in the forest area of Lake Forest.
Did you want to make a mention of the leaves?
Well, yeah, okay, yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Bronwyn, keeping me on my toes. This is an example. One of the things you want to do the day of the judging, see all the leaves on the artificial turf there. It would be sure nice to get out there and rake those things up before the judges show up, so that you don't see that. We don't want any mess or clutter on jobs when the judges show up. This is one in San Clemente. Again, a pretty simple outdoor barbecue. You can see in the foreground interlocking pavers. Fairly simple job, but very clean. Nothing out of place on it. And you know, sometimes when I would enter jobs, I look at them and say, okay, I think this job could get an outstanding achievement, or this job could get a first place. And then at other times, I've had jobs that I thought had a chance at getting some of the big awards. This job in Newport Coast, we did the open beam patio cover, very open look with a ceiling fan and a sitting area near the barbecue. The idea of the patio cover was just to create the feeling of being enclosed, even though it really doesn't give you any shade, and you didn't need shade where that particular sitting space was. But you see the spa on the right side of the picture. That's a perfectly round spa with glass tile, and it's got a disappearing edge where the water slides over the sides into that little trough right against the spa. So when the water is off, it's just a clean sheet. When it's running, it's running over the side. Now, we'll have another picture later where I'll show you the rest of this yard and what was intended with this landscape design, because it was kind of unusual, but we'll go over that when we get to the other slide. This is another one in Newport Coast, where we have a large fire pit with seating area, and the walls are veneered with real stone. The paving is real stone. Then we got these monoliths and did this large fountain on the right-hand side there, where the water bubbles up and slides down the sides of those monolithic rocks. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about maintenance, picking jobs with winning potentials. Okay, again, we have the same thing. We want a good client. We want to enter a job that's got an adequate budget where you can do a good job of maintaining it. Now, years ago when I first started in the business, I used to do a lot of stuff to get my jobs. I used to do a lot of stuff to get my jobs ready for awards because I felt it was important to win awards and to create a name for myself. But as I got into the business longer and I was in it longer, I thought, you know what? I want the client to pay for that. They should have a decent budget so we can keep the place looking good. We want to make sure the turf is pristine with good color and that we don't have any weird mowing patterns on the lawn where they've been mowing it in one direction. There's big old wheel ruts all over it. And we don't want any equipment damage. We don't want to see where you're banging your lawnmower against the trees or against the shrubs, so that there's no equipment damage on the plants or the trees. Shrubs and trees, make sure that they're pruned and the color beds all look very uniform, that the color is kept up nice and the dead blooms are taken off of that stuff. Grading and drainage. Here's another thing to look at, especially with a maintenance job. Maintenance contractors have a nasty habit when they're cultivating their jobs of cultivating towards the drains. And gradually they'll build the dirt up on an atrium grate, and that's not the way it should be graded. The atrium grate, the dirt should be at the bottom of the hat, and then the drainage swale should go away from that with high points in between the drains so that in a rain condition that water is going to go into the drain where it should be. Quality cleanup. So on your maintenance jobs, make sure that you can keep that job really clean and keep it cultivated and weeded and top dressed. All right, this is a maintenance job we did in Santa Ana, and the color around the edges looks really good. The Mexican feathergrass is healthy. The tree has been pruned to create kind of a bonsai effect, but that to me is a job that certainly should do well in maintenance judging. And this is a residential job. That's artificial turf there, where the people had that expensive two-person chaise lounge there, where they could sit on the chaise lounge and look out toward the ocean and look up the coast towards Malibu. And but again, look at the shrubs. They're all nice and even in size and the way they're pruned and cleaned up. The hardscape is clean and neat, with no leaves and stuff hanging around. That is a good shot of a spot showing that job is properly maintained. And this is another commercial job with some olive trees that have been pruned out real nice, and all the other shrubs and the ground cover on the slope is got good color and is in good shape. So again, I wouldn't hesitate to enter a job like that under one of the commercial maintenance categories. And this is a residential in San Clemente, and again, look at that turf. The turf color is absolutely even all the way around the front of the house and the side of the house. So, you've got good sprinkler coverage when that occurs. And then you can see the succulents are nice and healthy. Some of them are blooming. And again, that's a job I wouldn't hesitate to enter. And I did enter that. I don't remember what we did with it, but that was a job that had all the elements we want to consider in entering a maintenance job. This is a commercial job in Laguna Hills. And again, the hedges are all neat and clean. The grass is even in color. The trees have been maintained, and the walkways are all clean without a bunch of leaves on everything. And again, for a large commercial project, that job would judge very nicely. Okay, and this is that job in Newport Coast, where you have, again, look at the grass, all nice and even color. The shrubs are nice and even color. They're growing nice and evenly. So this job is being maintained very nice and would certainly judge well. And this is another commercial maintenance job. Again, the little spot of color is the begonias are in really, really good shape. They're healthy. They've been, kept down so that they're all similar in size. The grass in the foreground is nice and green and even in color. Okay, this is that job that had that open patio cover where you saw the other side of the spa. That what we were trying to achieve, the design on this job was to make it look like it's at the beach. And then where you see this picture here with the stepping pads and decomposed granite and the succulents and stuff, this is supposed to look like you're actually swimming underwater, going up to the far raised platform with the fire pit, and the succulents with all the different colors of stuff sort of represent underwater coral. So when I write up my entry form on this job, I explain some of that stuff so the judges could see that this job is very unusual. And actually, I don't have a picture of it, but on the other side where the concrete was actually poured, we used color glass thrown in the concrete to make it look like water waves were rushing towards the house. So, but we explain that in the entry form so the judges see that there's a little something extra involved in this project. All right, this is just a pretty simple commercial maintenance job that, all the shrubs are nice and even in color. The trees are all the same size. And again, a very simple commercial maintenance project. All right, then here's something we don't want to see you do. There's sprinkler head, a pop-up sprinkler head sticking above the ground. The top dressing is not even at all, looks all kind of clumpy. The shrubs are all different sizes. This job is not ready to be entered. So you need to look at things like that when you consider what jobs to enter in the awards. Okay, entry form tips. Okay, you want to make sure you fill out your entry form completely. In other words, make sure that all the information that is asked for is put there, and make sure that you give good directions so that the judges can get to the job site and explain any unusual circumstances, and explain any extreme difficulties or unusual things like we just saw on that slide a couple ago where we were trying to emulate the look of underwater coral garden. List all work done under your contract. What work did you do? What work did subcontractors do? And what work did somebody else do that was not under your supervision? So make sure you fill out your entry forms good. All right, so I want to add one other thing on filling out your entry forms. Make darn sure if there's any key gates or entry codes or anything like that, that you make sure you put them on your entry form. Make sure you put phone numbers of people to reach and stuff, because It's very frustrating when you're judging jobs and you get out to a job and you can't get in. Or you can't get into the guard gate community or whatever. So make sure you've got stuff like that all down on your entry form so that if something happens, the judges have a good chance to get in. Timing is important. Okay, let's talk about, we're going to start with what you want to, kinds of things you want to do a month prior to judging. So you want to inspect the job and check that maintenance quality that we talked about. And that's a good time, a month or more ahead of the judging, to prune and fertilize. And you want to replant your pots and baskets, replant any shrubs, restake any trees, and then replant any color and ground cover. So that's stuff you can do a month ahead of time. If you fertilize, depending on what you fertilize with, you'll be able to green up your lawn and have it looking really pristine on the day of judging. You want to make sure that you water any dry spots, repair any sprinkler heads, straighten your sprinkler heads, make sure your sprinkler heads are 2 or 3 fingers away from the hardscape, repair any masonry or concrete, do any touch-up paint, and acid wash and seal if necessary. Make sure all the light fixtures are straight. Okay, so here's a backyard here, and if I remember, that's artificial turf there, and you can see the shrubs along the wall there are all nice and even size, they're all consistent color. And then we built that patio cover off of the house with precast columns and put that fountain in there. This was a yard that the people enjoyed going out there and sitting, except that the golf course behind them, people had a habit of driving golf balls into their backyard. 1 week prior to judging. Okay, so I would go back and cultivate a little bit and top dress, add any last minute color, remove the dead blooms from the color, clean all the hardscapes and planter areas, clean the drain heads and check the grading. If the grading's not right, you want to fix the grading so when the judges show up. I entered a job many years ago in Costa Mesa, and the judges were out there when a rainstorm hit, and they ducked under the overhang of the building, and they said it was amazing. We're in the middle of the rainstorm, and we could see that water running into the planter, and then from the high spots running, one way and then the other way to the drain heads. And they said it was amazing that it did what it was supposed to do. It drained the way it was supposed to drain. Make sure you remove any signs off the job. Double check the judge's access to the property to make sure that any guard gates are informed that California Landscape Contractors Association is going to be on the job judging it on such and such a day, and any pool or spa needs to be cleaned so that it's sparkling water. And then any missing color, any dry spots, hopefully you fix the dry spots a month ahead of time, but if not, you might want to water some of them and make sure that lawn is even color when the judging occurs. This is a job, this is that same job that had the little table with the placemats and the plates with the little fountain next to it. So out in the yard, we created this solid roof patio cover with a barbecue and a TV where you can put a nice big couch. This job, as I mentioned before, the backyard was absolutely a disaster. There were big trees and roots all over the place. And we also changed the shape of the pool. We enlarged, it had a little dinky spa, so we changed the shape of that and replastered it with a white PebbleTech plaster. And I forget, but I think this job won President's Award or something like that, but it created a backyard that those people absolutely love. Okay, on the day of judging, you know, in our chapter, and I don't know what they do in your chapter, but we try to call people and give them a rough idea of what time we expected the judges to get around to the property. So number one, make darn sure that they can get entry to the job, into the job. If you've got time to go there and hose things and wet down the dirt and turn off the sprinkler clock so it doesn't come on while they're walking around and get all wet, turn on all the water features, wet down the brickwork if possible, pay the judges and pray. Well, that's really not true, but
The praying part's true.
yeah, no. Okay, so this is a job in Newport Coast, and when you walk in the house, this rectangular section in the middle, it was designed to look like a formal fountain like you'd see in Europe somewhere, with the 4 fire bowls and the water jets spraying into that center section. Then if you look on the right side of that and the left side, and I think Bronwyn has another picture, we could show you that the rest of the pool was made to look like a lake attaching to that fountain in the center. The feeling of this was, we have 2 levels to the backyard. The upper level, when you come out of the house, is very formal and simple. All those pruned hedges that you see, and it's got 2 colors of stone paving. And then as you step down 24 inches into this pool level, the idea is it's supposed to look like all of a sudden you've been transported to Bali or Hawaii. Totally different feel down in the low area. And this is probably one of my overall very, very favorite jobs. Attend the awards banquet. Okay, so first of all, I think you should go and try to get your crew to the awards banquet, and possibly the client or the architect or property manager, because the awards banquet could be a very good tool to market your company to people, and to thank your crew for doing a good job, because they really get a kick out of it, and the pride in doing high quality work is something that goes a long way in your company. Okay, and then don't miss out with follow-up publicity. Make sure that you either do it yourself or hire somebody to write some press releases that go into your local papers, and maybe give a duplicate trophy to your client or your property manager, and then include a photo of your job in your presentation folder. So when you meet with prospective clients, you could say, well, here's a job we did in Newport Coast in 2016, and we won sweepstakes with this job. And they can see from the photos of your jobs that the quality is there, the attention to detail is there, and the pride in your work is there. And then you send a thank you letter to your subcontractors who help with the project also, because they're part of your team and they're part of what makes the job really come out well.